this is when they need him most. They're playing against Miami in the playoffs, and Embiid's out. And you saw last night, it's another, 5 for 13, 4 for 13, whatever he was last night.
No matter what you do without Joel Embiid, it's not going to matter. Because unless James Harden can turn back the clock and become the scorer he was in the past, that's what Philly needs now. Harden has embraced the playmaking side of things ever since he left Houston with Brooklyn and now with Philadelphia. But right now, he's not able to just do that. He also needs to be a scorer. And that's not there anymore. He doesn't have the burst. He doesn't have the explosiveness. He's not finishing anywhere as well around the rim anymore. He's not finishing anywhere as well in floater range. Harden's just not the same guy as a scorer at this point, or he's hurt, or both.
Well, a couple of things. And those are, I mean, look.
That was music to your ears, huh? You liked hearing that.
Yeah, but maybe it's not necessarily what I believe. I think there's a couple other things. A, it's the playoffs, so this is what happens. B, he took 13 shots last night. Since he's been with the Philadelphia 76ers, I read last night he has not taken 20 shots in a game. That is unbelievable.
He's averaging 13 in the playoffs.
Well, and
he averaged 20 plus in 8 years with Houston. 20 plus shots.
And he should be on the injury report if something's wrong with him. Right. So every year there's more excuses as to why James Harden is not showing up. One year it was he was tired. Oh, he played too many minutes during the regular season. Now it's, he must be hurt or he's lost his burst or whatever else.
Well, he has lost his burst.
Sure. He is absolutely in worse shape than he used to be. Okay. That's for sure. They've also taken away a ton of what made him a devastating threat. And I do think that has hurt his game tremendously. The fact that they don't give him the calls anymore. He can't just go in there, hook your arm up and flail. He can't come around the screen and then let you pile drive into him. All these non-basketball plays that he made an absolute living off of don't exist anymore. And so when you team that up with not taking care of your body, getting a little bit older, yes, losing some burst. The league has made a lot of these different things. Every trick that James Harden would come up with to game the system, they outlawed. And it's been over and over. And the other thing is...
Just to put some numbers behind that for you, Chris, real quick. This year with the Sixers, he averaged 8.9 free throws per game. His last full year with Houston, it was 11.8.
What was his MVP year?
His MVP year was 10.1.
10.1?
Yeah.
So he went from 10.1, almost 12 a game.
Yeah, I mean, he had between 10 and 12 between 2014-15 and 2019-20. And granted, he's also shooting more than he's trying to draw more fouls. I think that part is an aspect of it for sure. I still think like the physical decline is like you can pull up video of him, his first step with Houston compared to now. Like he's just slower. Mm-hmm. He's just slower. I mean, he might just be getting old because he's not probably putting in the care that some other athletes do when they get in their 30s. Like the results.
Would you give this player a max contract?
Here's my thing. What other choice is there?
Not giving him a max contract.
Well, here's the thing. What other choice is there? Because even though he's declined as a scorer, his playmaking is still terrific. Even though that happened, here's a stat. I have this stat and a video coming out this week for The Void. James Harden and Joel Embiid have the number one pick and roll combination over the last 5 years. They score 1.15 points per chance when they pair up in the pick and roll. And granted, it's a smaller sample size than many other combination. It's like 550 possessions. And it was in the second half of the season when offensive rating was higher than ever before. Teams aren't playing defense statistically as much, okay? So it's inflated. All of that said, I was surprised to see it number one over the last 5 years for pick and roll combinations. This year, that means it's more than like Ayton and Paul. It's more than like John Collins with Trae Young, Luka with Dwight Powell, or like Morant and Adams, Morant and Jackson, whatever it might be. Better than all of them. I was surprised by that. And the reason why is because finally there's a guard who has unlocked what Joel Embiid has never been able to do, and that's roll to the rim. Harden is the guy who brings that out of Embiid, creating those easy baskets. So with all that said, I think you don't have a choice here when it comes to signing Harden because of what he does for Embiid. And I don't know if there's a better alternative than him for Philadelphia here, where I don't know if there's a choice. I think they have to take the risk, even if that ends up being a bad deal in the back end, because in the front end, those guys together, at least in a small sample, given all the circumstances I outlined, they were number one in the NBA together.
Very reminiscent of the Daryl Morey, Ben Simmons, and Joel Embiid on the court together numbers that were disseminated over the course of the last 2 years. And it was like, well, they're a great pairing. It works together. And then I guess it just doesn't work in the playoffs, right? Like, I mean, we saw all those numbers. The numbers with Simmons and Embiid on the court together were spectacular. They always were, right? And that was the defense to, well, this isn't a natural pairing. This isn't the best fit together. And so, look, I'm interested in things that show up in the playoffs. And obviously, Joel being out is not very helpful, but there is absolutely no way I would handcuff my franchise and have $40 and $50 million soaked up into a guy that's performing at that level. What makes you think that if you sign him up for $200 million that he's all of a sudden going to get in some kind of unbelievable shape? What is the motivation to get in some kind of, I mean, right now we saw it for about a 4-game deal, and then it just went away again. And this is when they need him most. They're playing against Miami in the playoffs, and Embiid's out. And you saw last night, it's another, 5 for 13, 4 for 13, whatever he was last night. I mean, in fairness, Kevin, I think you could put a lot of people in a pick and roll combination with Joel Embiid and have a lot of success with it.
Well, and that's the interesting thing. It's like, well, is there a replacement guard that they can be targeted, who could be cheaper, that could come in a sign and trade possibility, where then letting Harden walks is like more of an option.
Yep.
That would be the question. Like a Jalen Brunson. Like if you could get Jalen Brunson in a sign and trade, something like that, in that case would then make sense to let Harden go. Like Brunson at $25 million rather than Harden at almost 60 at some point. That's like, that's a lot of money, dude. Like, it's a huge risk. I agree with you, Chris. It's a risk. But I think the other side of things here is we also need to just say what Heat fans are probably screaming out right now. Miami just also deserves a lot of credit.
There's no question. We always talk about Miami's opponent. It's always about how sorry, Trae Young was in that deal. And now it's about the decisions that Doc made and everything else. And the truth is, Miami is hellacious to play against.
Bingo.
They are absolutely hellacious to play against.